Hey everybody, Mature Simmer here. Welcome back to this week's edition of our VFR Around the World Tour with the TBM 850. So we are again going to get moving. We've got a relatively lengthy little leg here. So we're going to get our radio master on, our EFS master on, get our fuel selector set. Get our bleed going, all of our temperature, and should be set. So we can go ahead and start. Get ourselves up. Probably to 3,500 feet. Interesting, we had a plane appear, then disappear. All right, we're at 15, so we're gonna get up to low idle. That'll get this spinning faster. All right, EFIS master is on. We'll get our probe heat. All right, get that going. At this point, we're at 50. We'll get to high idle. So I think, again, we're okay. Yep, engine is 99%. Get the starter turned off. They have strobe. And should be all set. So, whoops, we have ignition. Turn that off. Whoops, I'm sorry. We can turn that off. Put that to auto. Eesh. Alright. So I think we're okay. And again, we put this here. Get our autopilot on. We will get our... Oops. So, I want to know. What am I missing? Menu? Oh, import. I'm like, hello. I know this works. So, a bit long. That's taking a bit. Interesting. Okay. Just seemed longer, but maybe... Okay, 13 waypoints, as you can see. Get ourselves set to GPS. We'll be able to do flight director nav. Okay, we're past the test points. And we're all set. So let's take a look at today's route. All right, so we're taking off from Nice in France. So here's the coast of Italy, France. So we're kind of on the Mediterranean here. So we're going from France to Spain with a quick pass through Andorra. So we'll be able to just fly over that. And that's a very tiny country that's around. I believe it's a country, but that is where we are headed. And at this point, you know, we're on the coast. So we're just going to turn around, head out to the runway, and be on our way, because we've got a little bit of distance to pass through. But before we do that, let me make sure we're all set here and just get ourselves some clearance. So again, this counts. It appears things are working pretty well. So just trying to get my SayIntentions ready. Nice clearance, November 191 Mike Alpha, requesting VFR.
November 1 Mike Alpha, state destination en route for VFR clearance.
Requesting VFR clearance to Barcelona. November 191 Mike Alpha.
Clearance on request, you're number 1.
All right, so we're set there. In the meantime, we'll disconnect. Again, get our trim set.
November 1 Mike
Get our
Alpha
flap
cleared
set.
VFR to Barcelona. Maintain VFR at or below 1500 feet. Departure on 120.16 squawk 4456.
Maintain VFR at or below 1,500 feet. Departure on 120.16 squawk 4456, November 191 Mike Alpha. All right.
November 1 Mike Alpha, read back correct. Ground is on 121.705. Safe flight, sir.
All right, so this is a little bit bigger airport, so we're going to go ahead, get ourselves over to ground. Nice ground, November 191 Mike Alpha, requesting taxi to runway 22 right.
November 1 Mike Alpha, runway 22 left taxi via uniform, Hotel 1, hold short of runway 22 right, then Hotel 3.
Can I take off on 22 right, November 191 Mike Alpha?
November 1 Mike Alpha, negative. Only runway 22 left available for departure.
Roger, runway 22 left. Taxi via uniform, Hotel 1, hold short of runway 22 right, then Hotel 3, November 191 Mike Alpha. Alright, so not what I'd prefer, but it is what it is. Again, we had a little bit of a problem the last leg we had where I was taken off out of a bigger airport and I couldn't even get VFR clearance. So at least we were able to do that here. So
November 1 Mike Alpha, cross runway 22 right, then continue taxi via Hotel 3.
Cross runway 22 right, then continue via Hotel 3, November 191 Mike Alpha.
Approaching runway 22 right.
This is why I wanted to just go off of this, because we could just go and go, but we'll be nice. We'll follow ATC. I typically just kind of ignore them. I'm just
runway 22,
you know,
right,
tracking
remaining
other items.
8,100 feet.
All right. So now we're there.
Approaching runway 22 right.
Now again, we're
November 1 Mike Alpha, contact tower on 118.7.
Really? Okay, fine. All right, so I'm just changing these via the SayIntentions piece. Nice Tower, November 191 Mike Alpha, ready for takeoff, runway 22 left.
November 191, Mike Alpha, Nice Tower, runway 22 left, winds 170 at 6, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 22 left, cleared for takeoff, November 191 Mike Alpha. Alright. So we're not too far from our first destination, but we'll get ourselves airborne, and we'll get going. If you're new to the series, we show the whole flight. It's a VFR flight after all. So the whole deal is, you know, to be able to enjoy the view. So,
runway 22
I don't talk the whole way.
9,000.
I'll just chat a little bit in the beginning. Not much to say this time. I've kind of had a bad recording day, so a little upset about results there. Nothing to do with this series, but just in general. Just trying to get some trucking done, and didn't happen. So I recorded, but somehow it didn't actually get the gameplay screen, which I don't understand because my OBS is just set to record the screen. But anyway, we'll get the wheels up, flaps up, get ourselves off, and we shall yaw damper and autopilot and arm, and hopefully we'll be good, and he'll get himself up to 400 or 600 meters. And like I said, we're going to go about 3,500 because I know it's a little bit hilly up here. But at this point, we are away. Whoops. There's the airport. That is the runway we took off on. That's the one I was going to try to take off on, but it wasn't allowing that. Alright, so heading over to the information. We're going to head west from Nice along the coast, and shortly we will come to Cannes, site of the famous film festival and the Palais des Festivals. So I assume that's where we're going, but I have Cannes as the point of interest.
France, 26 November, on cross runway 22 right.
Cross runway 22 right, Air France 26 November Romeo.
And I will change that shortly. Sarah, could you please load VFR TBM around the world, leg 34?
You got it. We're loading up the VFR TBM around the world, leg 34 inches tour. Our first stop is Cannes, just 11 kilometers away.
I don't know why it's called 34 inches, but I'll have to check if I misspelled something, but, you know, we'll worry about that later, I guess. All right, so 4.9 miles. Again, if you're new to the series, you can see that here. Typical view I'll give, which we'll go to at this point, is this way, because going out the other side of the plane, you see a lot more instrument panel, and you don't necessarily get much more view, so even if there isn't much on the left side of the plane, we give you that.
At our 11 o'clock, just 6 kilometers away, is the glamorous city of Cannes. Famous for its international film festival, Cannes has been dazzling celebrities and movie buffs since 1946. But there's more to it than red carpets. This city was once a humble fishing village before it became a playground for the rich and famous. The old town, Le Souquet, is perched on a hill and offers a maze of narrow streets that date back to Roman times. And if you look closely, you might spot the Ile Sainte-Marguerite just offshore, where the mysterious man in the iron mask was imprisoned. Cannes is proof that sometimes a little glitz and a lot of history can go hand in hand. Next up on our tour is Toulon.
Okay, I don't know why she called it Cannes the second time. I think she said it right the first time. So you can see we've got 53.7 miles. Again, 13 waypoints. That was waypoint 1. There's a couple waypoints, I think 11 and 12, that are really close together. So I've got the check quick there. They are far enough apart. They need to be at least 4 nautical miles apart is the recommendation from Tour Tuner. But basically, we're going to just go ahead and let you view out the window. And I think, let me just get to the terrain, because that's going to become important. We're going to get to some mountains, but yeah, everything's green. Probably want to zoom out a little bit, just so we have a broader range, 25 miles. So again, you can see that way we've got some mountains, but we're not going to be dealing with that right now, so I'll just have to keep an eye on things. But for the most part, I'll just be silent, let you enjoy the view, and we'll communicate at each waypoint. The one thing I did not share, we have a length of, 547 nautical miles for this leg. So again, there's nothing that I've found that will kind of follow the flight path. and give you the distance as an overlay, but I think it was like 260 miles or something directly where we were going. But obviously it's a sightseeing tour is what this is, which is why I'm sharing it with folks, and think it's a really cool way to experience Flight Simulator and get to at least virtually see sights around the world. So hopefully you're here to enjoy that. These videos are my target now is every Saturday. I've been doing it for, I think, since leg 10. Initially it was a bit sporadic and months would go by, and eventually I'm like, I'd like to get done with this before I die. So I'm going to put a little bit more structure to it, and it became a weekly Saturday morning thing. So I do everything I can to make that happen. I can't promise that it's going to work, but so far I think I've done pretty well. So just wanted to make sure you knew our total distance, but that's probably going to turn into a between 2 to 3 hour flight here to get through and see everything. And again, as a reminder, we're going through France, Andorra, and ultimately ending in Spain. I'll talk to you in a little bit. So I'm going to pop back on here because I just realized, normally after that waypoint, I will give you the detail from the narrative. On the second, or the following waypoint, she had said we're going to Toulon. So it's continue on down the coast to the city of Toulon, a major naval base for France in the Mediterranean. Alright, we're coming up on Toulon. So those peaks are a little close, but they're green, so we'll be clear. We will be turning to the right in a little bit, but I'm thinking we need to get a little closer. Trying to get my narrative set so that I can click off as little as possible.
Just 5 kilometers away is Toulon. This city is famous for its massive naval base, which is the largest in France and has been a key part of the French Navy since the 16th century. Toulon has seen some wild history, including being the site of a dramatic siege during the French Revolution. Napoleon Bonaparte himself made a name for his artillery skills right here. The harbor is naturally sheltered, making it a perfect spot for ships to hide from both storms and, the occasional invading fleet. If you squint, you might even spot the old forts dotting the coastline, built to keep out pirates and other uninvited guests. Toulon's also known for its cable car that zips up Montferrand, giving epic views of the Mediterranean, though I promise our view from up here is even better. Next up is Stade Vélodrome, 45 kilometers away.
Alright, so you heard that one. It's Stade Vélodrome, so I am going to change this. I did talk about height being important. We are going to head into the mountains near the Pyrenees and things like that. And one of the sites we're going to see is about 9,500 feet. So we're definitely going to need to climb, I would imagine, because I don't think we're going to see it from far away. We're going to overfly it, so maybe I'll keep it at 10,000 and just stay really close so that we get a good view. But anyway, we are now turn northwest here and continue on up the coast to Marseille, where you'll find the Stade Vélodrome with its distinctive undulating roof and Notre Dame de la Garde, a grand basilica at the city's highest point, crowned by a golden statue of the Virgin Mary. So we will be there in 20 miles, probably 5 minutes or less. So talk to you in a bit.
At our 9 o'clock, just 5 kilometers away, is the legendary Stade Vélodrome. This stadium is home to Olympique de Marseille, one of France's most passionate football clubs. Opened in 1937, it's seen everything from World Cup matches to rugby games, and even some epic concerts. Yes, the Rolling Stones have rocked this place. The stadium's wavy roof was added for Euro 2016, and if you think it looks like a giant potato chip, you're not alone. With a capacity of over 67,000, it's one of the largest stadiums in France, and the roar of the crowd here can practically lift the roof off. Here's something. During matches, the fans are so loud you might think you're flying through a thunderstorm. Our next stop is Aix-en-Provence.
Okay. So, pretty short leg, under 15 nautical miles, you can see. But yeah, as it said, turn north and head inland to the city of Aix-en-Provence, the birthplace of post-impressionist painter Paul Cézanne. So we'll be there in just a couple minutes. Alright, so we're coming up here on the town. We're then going to take a turn to the left, about 45 degrees, and then a little bit longer leg. It's about 37 nautical miles. But let's hear what Sarah's got to share.
At our 7 o'clock, just 5 kilometers away, is Aix-en-Provence. This city is a magnet for artists and dreamers. Paul Cézanne, one of the fathers of modern art, was born and painted here. The town is famous for its elegant boulevards lined with plane trees and its countless fountains. There are over 100, so you could practically do a fountain crawl instead of a pub crawl. Aix-en-Provence was founded by the Romans in 123 BC, and you can still spot remnants of Roman baths if you squint hard enough. The city is also known for its lively markets and for calassons, a sweet treat made of candied fruit and almonds. If you ever wondered what it's like to live inside a painting, this is the place.
All right, so again, about 37 nautical miles here. And then we've got turn northwest to Avignon and the Palais des Papes, a 14th century papal estate and one-time rival to the Vatican. So we'll be looking for that building in, I don't know, probably a little less than 10 minutes. Talk to you in a bit.
At our 9 o'clock, about 5 kilometers away, is the Palais des Papes. This massive fortress palace was built in the 14th century when Avignon became the seat of the Catholic popes. Imagine the drama. 9 popes lived here, and it was basically the Vatican before the Vatican.
There.
The walls are so thick you could probably bounce a TBM off them. Not recommended, though. The palace is the largest Gothic building of the Middle Ages, and you can still see the grand halls where the popes held their feasts. Talk about a medieval dinner party. Here's something. The palace was so important it even had its own mint for making coins.
All right, so our next piece is just a few miles to the west. You'll find the Pont du Gard, a first-century 3-tiered Roman aqueduct and bridge over the Gardon River.
Away is the Pont du Gard. This ancient Roman aqueduct bridge was built in the 1st century AD, and it's still standing strong. Take that modern infrastructure. The Romans constructed it to carry water over 50 kilometers to the city of Nîmes, and they didn't even have YouTube tutorials. The bridge is nearly 50 meters tall and made entirely without mortar, just perfectly cut stones stacked like the world's most impressive game of Jenga. Legend has it the architect made a deal with the devil to finish it on time, but outsmarted him with a clever trick involving a missing stone. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a favorite spot for picnics, swimming, and people pretending to be Roman engineers.
All right, she did trigger a bit early, so I'm going to need to check that, because I'm almost wondering if somehow I had them on top of each other. So I'll have to adjust that in the tour tuner, but we'll definitely kind of stick with this and keep an eye out till we get a little closer, because, yeah, we certainly didn't see it, and we're 6 miles away. I'm looking at my Navigraph as well. So she really shouldn't have spoken that early. I assume it's maybe over the river there. We are going to make a very sharp left, so it's going to be a little bit challenging to see. I try not to move the camera a whole lot because, as you saw when we took off from the airport, it's always a bit tricky with Flight Simulator and all that. But again, 4 miles. Like, she really should be getting ready to talk now about it. But yeah, it was 3-tiered Roman aqueduct and bridge over the Gardon River. And then again, a relatively short leg to waypoint 7. So, just trying to see 2 miles, so I'm thinking it's going to be over this river somewhere. Again, we're going to turn away. It's right there. So if you get a good, let's see, pretty cool. But yeah, there it is. Kind of redrew itself pretty nicely. All right, so 16 miles. Let's see. So we're there. A hard turn to the south will take us to Arles, a former provincial capital of ancient Rome that is famed for inspiring the paintings of Vincent van Gogh. So that is where we're going, kind of back toward the Mediterranean, so you can see the water out there. So again, a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, and we'll be there. Gonna zoom
At our 1
out.
o'clock, about 5 kilometers away, is Arles. This town is a living postcard from Roman times. Seriously, if you squint, you might spot a toga or two. The Roman amphitheater here was built around 90 AD and could seat over
Thinking it's
20,000
that.
rowdy spectators for gladiator battles and
That's
chariot
cool.
races. Vincent van Gogh also called Arles home for a while. He painted more than 300 works here, including the famous Starry Night over the Rhone. The city is crisscrossed with ancient streets, and if you listen closely, you might just hear the echoes of Roman sandals clacking on the stones. Here's something. Arles was once a major port on the Rhone River, making it the place to be for traders and travelers in ancient times.
All right, so we're turning back across the coast. We're kind of going to hug the coast for these 30 miles or so. So, yeah, I was saying, we're just going to see a city there, but she started talking, so there wasn't any specific things, but seeing that amphitheater was pretty cool. So this is the first of 3 increasingly longer legs to really the longest actual leg that we have on the tour today, which is 75 nautical miles between waypoints 9 and 10. We're heading toward waypoint 8. So this one is, again, about 30. And so head west now, back to the coast, to Montpellier, or Montpellier, probably in French. Then head inland. Whoops. Well, we're going to head inland. That's the next point. So that's waypoint 9. So again, just going to the coast to Montpellier. And we'll enjoy that as we get there. I think point 11 is the high one. So it'll be, and that's still a long way away as well. It's almost 70 nautical miles for that leg. So we've got a good bit of lengthy legs here, but this is where we're going to get a good, 200 nautical miles of our 500 on these next 4 to 5 legs, if we skip the short one in between. But anyway, I'll shut up now. We'll talk in a little bit.
At our 10 o'clock, about 6 kilometers away, is Montpellier. This city has been around since at least the 10th century, and it's famous for its medieval streets that twist and turn like a plate of spaghetti. Good luck finding your way out without a map. Montpellier is home to one of the oldest universities in the world, founded in 1289, and its medical school has been training doctors since the Middle Ages. The city is also known for its stunning Place de la Comédie, a grand square that's been the heart of local life for centuries. And if you spot a lot of students, that's because nearly a third of Montpellier's population is under 30, so it's basically the cool kid of southern France. Here's something. The city has a triumphal arch modeled after Paris's Arc de Triomphe, just in case you want to practice your victory wave as we fly by. Next up is the Millau Viaduct.
All right, so she has not shared a lot, which is typical. I think I noticed like the first 2 or 3 of the next stop, then at some point it'll stop, but it's interesting. Sometimes she does just remember to point that out, but as you heard, the Millau Viaduct is where we're going next. 47 nautical miles away. We're already made a couple of those. So, again, apologize for not jumping on early. I tend to sit and kind of watch, but then I'm playing with a mobile game on a tablet or something as I just enjoy the view here and there, and I got caught up in moving some things around, and then suddenly she started talking. So, a little bit later there than we would have planned. But now, as we said, then head inland again to the Millau Viaduct, a 2.4 kilometer long cable-stayed bridge and one of the world's tallest. So while it's called a viaduct, again, this clearly isn't from Roman times. They did not build anything that crazy long. 2.4 kilometers, I think, is well over a mile. And cable stayed, I'm sure it's steel, this, that, and whatever, so I'm sure it's a modern bridge. But we are headed there. Let me just see if I'm seeing anything. Things are rising, but not getting above yellow, so I'll have to keep a look at that. Again, as we start doing that, I may move the camera a little bit, but I'll be silent until we get closer. And we'll take a look at that, and then, again, our longest leg is up after that. See you in a bit. All right, so there is the bridge. Pretty impressive. So we're coming in pretty low. I did
At our 9 o'clock,
happen to
about
notice,
5 kilometers
but
away, is the jaw-dropping Millau Viaduct. This engineering marvel is the tallest bridge in the world, with its highest mast soaring 343 meters above the Tarn Valley. Yes, that's even taller than the Eiffel Tower. Designed by French engineer Michel Virlogot and British architect Norman Foster, it opened in 2004 and has been making drivers feel like they're flying ever since. The bridge stretches for 2.46 kilometers and was built to ease the infamous traffic jams on the route from Paris to the Mediterranean. Some locals joked that before the viaduct, it was easier to grow old than to cross the valley in summer. Here's something. The builders used GPS to align the sections, so it's basically a giant game of high-stakes Tetris.
all right. So now again, over 70 nautical miles. This will take a little bit. If somehow I don't get back, I'm gonna try to eat my lunch in between here. And but anyway, so yeah, okay. Head southwest. So we didn't make a huge turn. It was about 90 degrees, but we're now heading back southwest. We're kind of past the Mediterranean now, so this is where France and Spain and the Iberian Peninsula start to connect south of us. But we're going to head southwest to the Stadium de Toulouse in the city of the same name. Toulouse is bisected by the Garonne River and is known as La Ville Rose, the Pink City, due to the terracotta bricks used in many of its buildings. All right, so that is where we are going. I'm not sure if I need to elevate a little bit. I'm going to go up 1,000 feet just to give myself a little bit of space again, because I'm stepping away and the last thing I want to do is crash because I'm not there taking a look at it. But I will see you in, I don't know, probably 15 minutes or so is about when we'll be approaching, maybe a little longer. So I'll talk to you then. we're getting near the stadium. Not sure we can see it. It's probably there. We're still over 5 miles away. So it's probably on the riverfront, but below us, I'm sure we have Toulouse spreading out across the miles. So, places I've heard of, places I've never seen, we'll probably never get to see. Oh, there's an airport right down there out the window. Probably the local airport that would be utilized if anyone was doing that and didn't drive somewhere. I mean, again, we're in the south of France. We're getting very close to the border of Spain. Next time we'll be even closer at the next waypoint. But yes,
at our 10 o'clock,
there it is.
About 4 kilometers away is Stadium de Toulouse. This stadium has been the heart of
That's
sports in the
interesting.
city since it opened in 1937. It's hosted everything from World Cup soccer matches to rugby showdowns, and even a few concerts where the crowd probably sang louder than the band. During the 1998 FIFA World Cup, fans from all over the world packed the stands here. Imagine the wave going around with that many people. The stadium sits on an island in the Garonne River, so if a ball goes out of bounds, there's a good chance it's going for a swim. Here's something. During World War II, the stadium was used as a shelter for refugees. Our next stop is the Pic du Midi Observatory. Just set our heading to 235 and fly for 115 kilometers.
Right, so nearly 70 miles. And again, she's giving you where we're headed. We're going to take a slight left to the Pyrenees Mountains, and just before the Spanish border is the Pic du Midi Observatory, an astronomical observatory located at 9,439 feet on the summit of Pic du Midi de Bigorre. Just a few miles. That's the next waypoint. So, again, this is where I was saying we're going to need to climb, so we're going to go ahead and get ourselves to, I don't know, let's say 9,800 feet, just to be safe-ish. Probably don't need to climb that fast, but we'll go ahead and do that. I will go ahead and give you the view, but I assume we'll be fine at that point, but I'll try to keep an eye on things, because again, I would rather not crash and have to try to do this again. I'll see you in a bit.
At our 11 o'clock, just 2 kilometers away, is the Pic du Midi Observatory. This place is like the ultimate treehouse for astronomers, perched at 2,877 meters above sea level. It's been peering into the cosmos since 1878. Scientists here were among the first to map the surface of the moon in detail, and they even helped NASA pick out Apollo landing sites. The observatory's gigantic dome looks like it could launch into space itself, and on a clear day, you can see all the way to the Pyrenees and beyond. If you're feeling brave, there's a glass skywalk called the Ponton dans le Ciel. It's basically a balcony for people who laugh in the face of vertigo.
Now, we're going to the Lac de Cap-de-Long as the next thing, which is another peak. So this is the close one. Just a few miles to the south is the 7,089-foot high Lac de Cap-de-Long. So let's see if she'll say anything. Because it's still ahead of us a bit, but yeah, I think this is it. I think Lac is the lake. So, and I think I had a 2-mile trigger, so we'll see.
At our 12 o'clock, just 3 kilometers away, you'll spot the stunning Lac de Cap-de-Long. This massive reservoir sits high in the French Pyrenees and was completed in 1954. It's not just a pretty face, it's actually one of the largest artificial lakes in the region, created by damming the Nest de Couplon River. The dam itself is a concrete giant, standing 101 meters
right
tall,
there, the dam.
And it holds back over 67 million cubic meters of water, enough to fill about 27,000 Olympic swimming pools. The lake is a favorite for hikers and climbers, and if you look closely, you might see tiny specks along the shoreline. Those are brave souls trying to catch trout, or just enjoying the mountain air. Here's something. When they built the dam, they had to blast through so much rock that it was rumored the dynamite orders made local miners jealous. Next up is Andorra. To get there, just set our heading to 105 and fly for 109 kilometers.
Alright, so that's the stop over this tiny little country, just kind of like Monaco in the last leg that we had. But, so yeah, so it was just a few miles south is the 7,089-foot high Lac de Cap-de-Long. That's all it had to say about that. She certainly gave us a lot more detail, which is great. I'm going to stay up here for a little bit. I might lower down. I'll just kind of try to keep an eye on things. But then we go head east now, and we'll cross the border into Spain before coming to the small mountain principality of Andorra. Believed to have been created by Charlemagne, the tiny country is now mostly known for its ski resorts. So, yeah, in about, I'd say, 20 miles, we'll cross into the border of Spain. We're basically going to fly across it here, and then we'll be in Spain for a bit. Obviously, then pop into Andorra, and then we're going to head south to land. But this is the last waypoint. So the next point is turn south again to the Spanish Mediterranean coast and the city of Barcelona, our destination for this flight. And we're landing at El Prat, which I've used in Tower Simulator, so I do know that is the major airport at Barcelona. So we're going to have kind of the same issue when we take off from there for the next leg, is we might not get VFR clearance initially. So maybe I'll try to do that a little bit more appropriately by hopefully trying to give myself a little more time, but just always get excited and exploring something, and then suddenly I'm running short of time to get these together for you guys. But you know, and to fly them for myself. I mean, I love this series. I love these flights because I'm learning with you. I don't know where we're going next in detail. I learn about it a little bit ahead when I get the point in Tour Tuner. And that's it. I may go take a peek at the Tour Tuner now as well while I'm thinking of it, to go ahead and see if I have things a little messed up on waypoint 6, since it went off quickly. So there may be loss of the engine sound, but you'll still get the beautiful stylings of the visuals. Looks pretty straightforward, nothing for the next 25 miles. But yeah, I don't want to get lower and then suddenly have to worry about things. So we'll stay up here through the Pyrenees as we head to Andorra. Alright, so soaring between the peaks of the Pyrenees. In theory, we're still over it. There might be a little yellow there, but I don't think there's red. But it'd be pretty close. But we're coming up here on Andorra. Obviously, that is going to be within the mountains. I don't think we're technically across the border quite yet. The problem is Navigraph is a little bit behind in how it shows, so the arrow shows them a little bit away, but so in theory it's like halfway, so maybe 3-4 miles from now. But, I think, that town down there probably is in Andorra. Like, we're probably there at this point. But yeah, we're kind of past the tree line in some cases, as we can see. And then we're going to take a sharp south for 77 miles, so it's technically longer than that long leg we had between waypoints 9 and 10, but it's not an official leg. So that's why I said really, per the thing, it should be fine. So I did check the tour tuner setup. I think I had the coordinates correctly. I shrunk the distance a bit, because maybe because of how close they were when we made the turn, we somehow triggered the overlap area, although I don't know how, but I made it a smaller geofence, so hopefully it'll wait a little bit, but they were definitely different coordinates, so I believe I did it appropriately. But we'll be turning, as you can see, to the right pretty sharply here in a moment.
At our 3 o'clock, just 5 kilometers away, is the tiny but mighty country of Andorra. Nestled high in the Pyrenees between France and Spain, Andorra is one of the smallest countries in Europe, but don't let its size fool you. It's packed with mountain adventures and quirky history. Founded in 1278, it was once co-ruled by the President of France and the Bishop of Urgell, which sounds like the setup to a medieval sitcom. Andorra is famous for its ski resorts, duty-free shopping, and a language all its own, Catalan. Here's something. During World War II, Andorra was technically neutral, but its mountain passes became a secret route for refugees and smugglers. That wraps up our tour. We've soared over glamorous Cannes, ancient Roman aqueducts, jaw-dropping bridges, and now the peaks of Andorra. Thanks for flying along. It's been a journey full of history, legends, and a few laughs.
So again, I do really like the fact of how the AI can piece that together, like going through the history of, hey, we soared over Cannes, we did this. It's one thing to just refer to the last waypoint we talked about, but like it clearly gives you that feeling of, hey, I've got a real tour guide here with me doing something. So there's a lot of AI applications that I've been less than amazed with. This is one that I continue to really enjoy. So I hope we continue to have access to it, and even if it doesn't get any better, it's pretty awesome with what it does. Because as I said, what I really enjoy, the narrative is really cool that this gentleman put together, but I cannot imagine the countless hours he spent researching and doing all of that, just to find the waypoints and whatever. It's, and not that the waypoints are being found by AI, like we're using a plan he had and I'm just then using the capabilities to bring it more to life. But literally all that's provided to the tour tuner is the name of the location that we're dealing with, and then the latitude and longitude in decimal coordinates, which is why potentially, especially when they're close, it can be off a little bit. But there's no, there is a description field. It's optional. I never use it for the most part at this point, because I have found exactly what we've had happen. There's just lots of interesting random things that, prompting it more, I may not hear, because she may say, well, you want to hear about this. Like, if I already know what I want to hear about, I'm not going to learn anything new. So, you know, but really enjoying how that works. So we need to at least get over this rise. You know, Barcelona doesn't look like we're going to get to some flat area. Again, I don't really know this area of the world very well, but yeah, we're now heading into Spain, and Barcelona's right on the coast. I don't know if El Prat is on the Mediterranean or not, but you know, that's where we're headed. But 60 so miles or so. If you have not liked or subscribed yet, please consider that. It's greatly appreciated. I will bring it up at the end because some people may just skip to the end and be at the airport, and then they won't have heard this. But if you have been following along, you've clearly enjoyed this flight and this type of content. So why not subscribe so that you'll know when things come out, and then you'll be able to explore, and who knows what you'll find out, just as every leg of the tour shows us. So I'll shut up for probably 15-20 minutes, and I'll see you as we get closer and start figuring out how we land. I'm going to be looking around, so again, there's going to be some, you know, looking around on Navigraph and stuff, just trying to figure out an approach, because I don't know what the runways are situated. So again, there will be sound cutting out, but enjoy the view. Alright, so we're within 20 miles. There's a runway 20 that we can come in on. So just trying to kind of get lined up. We're at 150 here. Watching my moving maps out of Navigraph. I believe that's the airport there. So, you know, all the big peaks are behind us. You know, I'd like to see the map a little bit better. Start to slow down, let it slough off some speed here. Because we've already gotten ourselves out of TBM mode, which I didn't put into for a bit. Alright, so if I start heading, let's get ourselves at 170. Try to get an intercept with that. That might work nicely. Yeah, because I think the problem is, at this point, we may have passed it. Yeah, we did. Oh goodness, did we ever. Alright, so now we're gonna... Now maybe we're gonna have a little bit of a problem, but we're gonna get ourselves to... Let's say 290. Let's stick it here at 270. We'll just go across that way. Or 260 will work. Then we'll be approaching it at about a 60 degree. And we'll see if we can see it. We really can't. So it's a good ways away. Alright, so we're gonna bring ourselves... Alright, so if I bring it in at 230, that'll bring us in at a 30-degree angle to the runway, and then it's just a matter of... My goodness. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it, so let's bring it in even shallower. Let's make it 215. So, because I almost feel like I've gone too far already. I don't know what these floating avatar-like things are. Obviously, I'd like to not hit them, if I can avoid that. But yeah, at this point, I do think we need to be on 200. Which I'm worried is going to kind of put me... No, I guess it won't. Alright. Because yeah, I think I'm a little too far. So we're going to go over that way. We're too far over, but we'll get past this. And then we're gonna bring ourselves down. Whoops. Bring ourselves down another little bit here. Let's start to slow down. So we got like a church up on the hill there. Yeah, I'm just not really seeing. To bring this down to 1,000, because this is going to be really close here. Back this off even more. Bring the wheels down. I'm thinking it's kind of there. Right. Because I'm like, yeah, we're getting the note because of that, but that's the airport. Okay, we're down there. Bring the flaps down. That'll help. Bring them down yet again. Get our landing monitor going here. Oh, I hope. Didn't even think. Yeah, alright, thank God. I'm like, did I have what I need? But yeah, I think the runway is there. So we're at 1,000 feet. Gonna do that. Gonna get our flaps full down now. And then we should, I would think, be in pretty good shape here. Don't want to get in too early. Alright, we're still gonna want to cross a bit. 700 feet. Alright, so let's make the turn. There we are. Now that we can see the runway, like we can see a little bit better, we're gonna turn on. You can see planes are taking off.
500.
Again, if there are PAPI lights, I'm not seeing them. But yeah, we just had a plane take off. And yeah, so we didn't call in. Again, actually he's taken off in our direction. So that's not good. But that's okay. Alright, 300. Back this off some. And we'll aim, and we'll vacate pretty quickly. There goes another takeoff off to the side there. Again, this is a busy little airport. Alright, let's keep it. Slow it down. Alright. So, this is a closed runway, it looks like. But yeah, we'll head out here. We'll just get ourselves off the runway, because we don't have to get all the way over to a parking space, because yeah, I think this is the main terminal here. So we'll see if I see something nearby that is easy. Yeah, all right, there's some hangars out there. We'll go that way. But that gets us down because, yeah, it's 20 feet, as you can see. Like, we didn't have a whole lot of distance. Or a whole lot of elevation above the, above sea level. So, cut through here. And there we go. We've got some planes just like us over there. Not quite like us, but enough. All right. Here we go. Put ourselves here. And I think the flaps are up by now. Get ourselves cut off. Get the fuel off. Ground, November 191 Mike Alpha, parked.
November 191 Mike Alpha, Barcelona ground. Taxi to parking via Alpha. Hold short of runway 06 left.
All right. we should be good enough now that it knows we're at Barcelona. But here we are. It's noisy because we've got a Delta sitting right out there. Or maybe it's an Air France, Air Canada. I just saw something. Alright, but here we are at El Prat. This will be where we're heading out from next week. And who knows where our adventures will take us. But now we're down here. What I assume is going to happen is we're going to meander through Spain a little bit, see some sights here, and I'm assuming that is then how we drop down to Africa. Then I assume we're going to travel around Africa, whatever we do there for however many weeks or months we do that, and then come up through the Middle East and, you know, explore Asia, India, all that. And, you know, we did a little bit of Russia, but there's obviously other areas of Russia that we haven't touched. But there wasn't much to see in Russia, so I just don't know how much these paths will have us meander. But again, if you're new to the series and haven't been following along, over 115,000 nautical miles here is what we've got. So just turning off SayIntentions, so that goes away. But yeah, it's 115,000 nautical miles, you know, between 4 and 5 times around the Earth. So we're meandering around, but it's to get experiences like we get on every leg. I can't point to a leg and say, oh, it was terrible. I mean, there are some that are just by nature kind of dull because we're crossing over giant bodies of water. But right now, while we're over land, you know, there's plenty to see. But yeah, when we were coming from North America over here, and we had to basically fly to Greenland, Iceland, Greenland, well, Greenland, then Iceland, and then over. And so there were hundreds of miles where we were just crossing the oceans. So, you know, we're going to have some of that, certainly, as we go through the Pacific. I'm sure we're going to hop island to island. So we're going to have things to see, but, you know, there's distance between those islands. So, but I think that's a long, long way. I'm sure that's 150 leg and beyond if we even get there that quickly. And then, you know, we'll get back to the U.S. I mean, we've got to do South America as well. So who knows how they're going to bring us across, because we came up from basically the Midwest around Kansas, I think, and kind of headed across that way and just left the U.S. There's also lots of the U.S. to explore. So who knows how this is all going to come together, but I'm looking forward to it. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please consider that, and I will see you next time.